Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to another video, ranking video for Calabasas, California rock group Incubus, alternative rock group. Started as a funk metal group, kind of changed their sound to almost nu metal, which is kind of a dirty word now, but they did a really good job for a very short time. One album was that, then they kind of morphed into a more commercial alternative rock group. So for this one we have obviously 8 studio albums to count down, and also 4 EPs, one of which a lot of people probably wouldn't count, but I'm just going to throw it in for funsies. So yeah, without delay, number 12 by a long shot, the newest one, is 8, and really this album is as uncreative and uninspired as the title. Like when they announced 8, I'm like, really? Like, if they were like Led Zeppelin or something, or Van Halen, or Chicago, some band that actually numbered the releases, then it wouldn't be so bad. But I don't know. There's just something cheap, and even the cover is kind of like, yeah. I mean, the text is okay, but it's just so bland, such a bland cover. I was really excited because of the lead-up EP to this, had a couple good creative songs on it. I was just excited that the band were back after 7 years or something like that. And then this one massively disappointed. Even the singles aren't very interesting. No Fun kind of sums up the album. It's definitely the best song, getting the best song out of the way first, number one, and it also sums up the album. The album's no fun. It just sounds like a bunch of rich rock stars, which they are, and rich rock stars who just have to get product out there. They don't really care anymore. And I hate to say this, because Incubus were one of my first favorite groups back in the day when I discovered them in 1999, and I'd been listening to music consistently for a year and had my favorite bands and everything, but then Incubus came along, and they were the first band that I, memorized all the members' names, Eisinger, Brandon Boyd, Dirk Lantz was the bassist at the time, Jose Pasillas the second, and Kilgore, DJ Kilgore. Formerly, it was DJ Life was their DJ. But yeah, it was just a massive disappointment. The production, it's produced blandly. When I Become a Man is definitely the worst song they ever cut. Yeah, it's just a boring album, and usually I try to find the good in all these records. But yeah, usually when I talk about my bottom ranked LP of a band I like, there's something I can find in it, and that was just the I don't have any charity for that one. I think it's horrible. It's so bland. Next up is the Trust Fall EP, side A. B doesn't have a physical release. We'll get to that. Yeah, this is what made me kind of excited for 8. I thought the Trust Fall was really cool, and Absolution Calling, I believe, was the first single, really the only single. I think Trust Fall was a promo. So those two, Absolution Calling especially, really made me think that, okay, they're back, they're not trying on their album covers. That looks more like a photo shoot. But, hey, they're trying in their music. Makeout Party, don't really like that one, and Dance Like You're Dumb is as dumb as the title. I've only listened to those a couple times. They were pretty bad. They didn't leave an impression, but the other 2 songs redeemed this thing, and I think the other 2 songs are why I put this one above the next entry. Like, it's a transitional phase. If Not Now, When? This was the last studio LP before 8 finally came out, and I definitely credit them for experimenting and trying to go the other way from the commercialism of Light Grenades, but I just don't find it that interesting. It's kind of a hard record to listen through all the way. It just is a little too one note, a little too whitewashed, one paced. You know, there's some cool stuff, like In the Company of Wolves is probably a highlight. Switchblade is pretty cool. But, you know, some of the songs like Promises, Promises, which was the second single, it just sounds like, I don't know, like average modern day Hoobastank, like just really kind of mediocre radio fare. Not really all that interesting. But you know, not a complete failure. There's some good cuts, but it's kind of a slog to listen through front to back. Now, for some reason, I showed the Trust Fall Side A EP, but the Trust Fall Side B EP does not have any kind of physical release, which just kind of tells me that the band really doesn't care that much anymore about their fans, or, you know, because we want to collect these things. We want, you know, I'll take a CD, I'll take, you know, if it only comes out on vinyl, I'll buy that. And the side B one is way more interesting than the side A, way more consistent, so it ranks a little higher. Um, yeah, I think that the two singles from it, it took me a little while to get used to because they're really poppy again. But if it makes any sense, they're kind of poppy, but they are kind of experimental. Like, it's kind of a more of a dance rock sound. You know, Into the Summer, when that grew on me, I thought, wow, this is actually really cool. And yeah, the only one I don't like is the last song, which is kind of a piano-based Brandon Boyd cut, and I just, that one is probably one of the worst things Incubus has ever cut, but the other tracks are all really promising, and, you know, it's like, okay, hopefully 9, as I hope they don't call it, is, you know, a step back in the right direction, you know, recapturing that Incubus magic. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that one. I just hope they release it. I know that bands don't make that much money off CDs or records. You know, they make more of their money off merch and you showing up to their concerts, if they could have them anymore. But you know, people want to collect. You know, you want to complete the collection, so it would be nice to have that one. Next up is going to be Light Grenades. I almost reached for the wrong CD. Light Grenades, this was a definitely a cool era, but the LP isn't quite as interesting anymore. Like, it's not Incubus as we knew them on Morning View and Science and experimenting with tons of different sounds. It's kind of more rock radio ready. That's hard to say. Incubus, kind of a little more commercial. I do think the Earth to Bella parts are cool. Quicksand Into a Kiss to Send Us Off is really cool. There's nothing wrong with really any of these songs. I think Love Hurts is lazy and miserable. I don't like that one at all. And I know that song means a lot to some people. Maybe not much as Dig. I think Dig really helped some people, so that's cool. But Love Hurts does mean something to someone, and I like Mike Eisinger's playing on it, but I just think the chorus is so boring and using that old cliche, and I know they're trying to make their own spin on it, but it's just really boring to me. But the other 12 cuts are pretty good. It's just, it doesn't quite hold a candle to their classic stuff. But there's nothing wrong with it, and, you know, this was the first and only time I saw the band live. It was my first real concert, like not seeing like a high school band or something. We went and, you know, had a great time. We weren't very close or anything. My second and third and fourth concerts were all way more exciting because they were way more intimate. They were in theaters and clubs, and this was at a huge arena. Incubus were still a big name, big commercial frontier at the time. But so there's a lot of good memories associated with this, and Animali coming out, and which is such a clever play on words. I don't know, that got kind of old kind of fast. But yeah, it's a good era, so, you know, there's some good memories attached to it and that. I think I'm going to do this one next. Okay, I just changed the order right now. This is a little EP that a lot of people wouldn't put in the ranking because it's all album cuts, but acoustic versions of it. And the first 3 songs, at least, are acoustic cuts of Make Yourself songs. including the title cut and two of the biggest singles, Pardon Me and Stellar. And then you have live versions of Pardon Me Again and Favorite Things from the S.C.I.E.N.C.E LP. And then Crowded Elevator, which is the sole new song on here, which was cut during the Make Yourself sessions. And that's one of my all-time favorite Incubus songs. I think it's so good. And I think that's really the only reason why I wanted to include this. Like, I kind of have a rule to not put EPs in that are just album cuts, you know, repackaged. But that's not really what this is. It's different versions of the album cuts. So I think it still counts. You know, I'm going to make my own criteria and still count it. You know, this isn't really, like, essential or anything. It's definitely for the fans. But Crowded Elevator is amazing. Like, that's got to be in the dream set list, you know. It's got to be in the top 10 Incubus songs for me. I love that song a lot. So are we at number 6 now, I think? Fungus Amongus. So speaking of that, like, this is, a lot of this is alternate versions from Fungus Amongus, but that's the thing, is they're different takes, you know. You realize right off the bat You Will Be a Hot Dancer is a different take. And I think that on Fungus Amongus, Kid Life or DJ Life wasn't in the band yet, and then now you have it recut with his contributions, so that's cool. They're still doing the thing where they all have weird names, like Mike is Dynamite and Brandon Boyd is Brandon of the Jungle, and they kept that up till, I know it was in Make Yourself. Brandon had a really funny name in that one. I don't know if they kept it going for Morning View. Once they got a little more corporate, they kind of dropped that. But yeah, you have 4 cuts from Fungus Amongus, but, you know, I included this because they are different versions, and that's interesting to me. And then you have 2 kind of fan favorite cuts that didn't make the album or any album, and that's Version and As We Think We Is. And those are cool. Unlike a lot of people, I don't think they're quite as good as anything on Fungus Amongus. But except maybe like the Medium. But yeah, still, I mean, a cool era, and they were still putting this guy on their album covers. He's enjoying some root beer, which is kind of a callback to, they had a demo EP, and I think it was called Let Me Tell You About Root Beer, or something to that effect. So we're at 4, is it? No, 5. I can count. 5 is going to be A Crow Left to the Murder. Left of the Murder. And this is definitely where a lot of people fell off, but because Dirk Lance was gone, and they kind of dropped a lot of the kind of funkier aspects and the kind of funk slap bass style that they had going. They recruited Ben Kenny from The Roots. He was actually in The Roots back then, and, you know, he became a full-time member of Incubus. And I always thought around this era, I thought that guy's going to go back to The Roots, because, you know, The Roots were kind of known in the underground and really well respected, and, you know, hip people liked them and that, but it seemed like they were always about to take off commercially, and you know, especially with the Seed and stuff like that, Don't Say Nothing getting played on MTV and stuff, and I thought he'd always go back, and, you know, and now The Roots are like a household name. They're on Jimmy Fallon, and I was always surprised he didn't go back, because, you know, The Roots kind of went up and Incubus went down, even though at the time Incubus were like a multi-platinum selling band. But, you know, if he's happy in Incubus, you know, more power to him, right? So this one, of course, had Megalomaniac, which, you know, some people think it's about George Bush, and definitely the video didn't help that, because Brandon says it's not. But there were some parallels there. I mean, if you read the lyrics really carefully, you know, maybe not so much. There's a lot of, you know, poetic stuff that isn't really that related to Bush, but the video didn't help that case, and I think that all that kind of stuff made this song even bigger than it might have been, though I think it was destined to be a big song, big first single, you know. I don't remember a first single just hitting that hard, except for Audio Slave's debut single from their debut album, you know, where you look up to the radio and you're like, whoa, like, you know, heavy, like, for alternative rock at least, like, really cool. A Crow Left of the Murder, the song has a great drive. There's a lot of really good, well-composed cuts. Beware Criminal, Six Sad Little World is one of the best things they ever did, probably. Pistola is a lot of fun. Priceless is just really kind of gritty, and I love that one. Z Devil is really fun. There's a couple kind of downers, like Made for TV movie isn't bad, but it's not that memorable. And people are going to hate me for this one, but Here in My Room kind of bothers me. It's kind of corny. Love is a verb in my room. To use that as the chorus, that's really corny in my opinion. I could never get over that line. And it wasn't ever really my favorite anyway. And then Leech, which I believe is about Dirk Lance. It sounded like he might not have been the nicest guy, though we only have it from Incubus's side. Like Dirk, I don't think he's said much about Incubus. Maybe he had to sign a thing saying he couldn't say things about his former bandmates. So you're only getting one side of the story, but whether he was a good guy or not, they definitely weren't getting along, especially during the time that Incubus were really successful. And I think that all imploded during Morning View and all that. So number 4, Fungus Amongus, an album that, you know, Brandon has kind of disowned back in the day, and I don't know if the band were too proud of it, but I think it's one of the best things they ever did. It's funky, it's just gritty, it's a lot of fun, you know. I kind of wish I was a skater in California when it came out. I'd have to be a little older, but it would be a fun album to skate to and just hang out in the summer and have some brewskis. And yeah, the first like 3 cuts, that's a good run right there. And then Take Me to Your Leader was the single from it, and actually had a video, a really weird video. Speak Free is really cool. It almost sounds Mike Patton-esque. That's the thing about this record. It's hugely indebted to Mr. Bungle, which is Mike Patton's side project from Faith No More. Or I should just say other project. It's not even like a side project. It's an entity of itself. Red Hot Chili Peppers, big influence on this. You can hear it all over the place. You know, Brandon sounds like he's trying to do a Kiedis thing sometimes. And also Primus. There's some Primus vibes there. So that's highly recommended. I've always hoped that one day, even though the band doesn't like those recordings, that for the fans, because there's a lot of fans that like that stuff, and like Incubus's funky stuff, for the fans, they should definitely issue an LP of it. Remember getting this one day one, Morning View. I was such a huge fan when this came out. Like, Make Yourself blew my mind, and it made me become a fan, and I was just waiting and waiting, you know, for this record. And Wish You Were Here came out, and I was like, wow. And yeah, at the time, this was like the perfect record. It had some really great rockers on it, and really great kind of more tender moments. Especially the last song is very creative for what, you know, an alternative rock band would be doing. You know, it's got the kind of oriental sway to it. It's got, you know, those frogs coming in. It's the perfect closer, and it's also the perfect song to go to sleep to. I remember when I was a teenager, I fell asleep to it a couple times on purpose. I would just put it on when I was kind of winding down. And then, yeah, some heavy rockers like Have You Ever and Under My Umbrella. Those are fun. Blood on the Ground is a lot of fun. Just a Phase bottles up, and which is ironic because he says, I am bottled fizzy water. And then it just explodes at the end for the last minute, and it's such a great payoff. And you know, you really have to expect your audience to be patient, to be a popular rock band, and, you know, put that song in at track 4 and expect people to listen all the way and get the payoff. But I'm so glad they did. Circles is wonderful. And the singles are great too. Warning's great. Are You In? Are You In didn't seem like a big song at the time. It was like the 4th single. I think it got played on MTV. I don't think it got played on Much Music, maybe once or twice. And the video was a little ridiculous. It got some radio play, but not as much as Nice to Know You and Wish You Were Here and Warning even. But it's become a big song. It's become one of the biggest songs from this record, or this band in general. Number 2, no surprise what the top 2 is now, I guess. S.C.I.E.N.C.E. This is a lot of people's all-time favorite Incubus record, and I totally get it. It's definitely the heaviest one, I would say. You know, Redefine is a crazy good opener, and DJ Life, even though he became a little screwy, his scratches on this record are so great. He fit in really well with the band. It's too bad that he went and got himself fired, and then became really crazy and followed around his replacement, and they had to get a restraining order and blah blah blah. Vitamin is amazing, one of their best tunes. You know, Idiot Box, Glass, New Skin, Certain Shade of Green is the one that most people know from this one. Favorite Things, Summer Romance, you know, the band's experimenting already, that's cool. Cologne at the end is really heavy, as is Nebula, and there's that whole secret track where the band just go crazy, and it's very sophomoric, but it's okay. It's better that they're doing the sophomoric stuff when they're 20 or however old they were. I think they were like 19 or 20 when they recorded this. Than what they put on 8. It's like, come on guys, you're like 40 now, you shouldn't be doing that. But it's forgivable here. Anyway, it's a great record. If it's classified as nu metal, I don't care. It's definitely one of the best nu metal records then. And then there's some dust on this one. But it's Make Yourself, and this is probably one of my most played CDs. I'm surprised that it still plays, actually. But anyway, I have the LP copy, so that's good at least. Yeah, when I heard Stellar and Pardon Me, I had to rush out and get this, and I didn't know how big Incubus would really become. You know, I told people I liked Incubus, and they're like, who? And then Drive comes out a few months later, and things just keep building and building, and Morning View, suddenly they're pretty much household names for younger people, and, you know, they became a big group, and yeah, this is just, pardon the pun, but a stellar record. You know, the first 9 songs, like that run right there, those songs are all perfect alternative rock songs. You know, Mike uses the same kind of effects on all the songs, but each of these songs are different enough, and Nowhere Fast is just perfect. Consequences, probably the underrated one. That one's so much fun. That one's one of the highlights, as is When It Comes. Privilege, what an opener. I remember, what was it called? Farm Club or something? The show where Matt Pinfield would host, and the bands would play songs from their newest records, and they weren't always the singles, and they played Privilege, and I'm like, wow, they're playing that. I thought they were going to play Stellar or Pardon Me, and they played that, and I was like, wow, amazing. Just those little things when you're young, like, just those little memories mean so much. Yeah, even the weaker songs, Out From Under and Battlestar, here we go, Skrelachtika. Skrelachtika. I get what they're going for, but I can never say that. Those 2 songs, you know, they're the weakest, but they're still incredible. Yeah, definitely number 1 for me. Maybe some bias because that's how I discovered them. You know, Science would be a great pick for number 1. So, you know, if that's your favorite, that's cool. Yeah, hopefully they'll have a 9th record soon, and they'll redeem themselves, and I can do another ranking video and show how that falls into place. But I got a lot more ranking videos I want to do for other bands. I think I'm going to do some dream setlist things. That's a fun idea, and some album reviews. So we'll catch you on the next one. This one went on way too long. Ta-ta for now. Bye, everyone.